Guys, Swedish Dwarf Gaming here. I'm a smaller Twitch streamer on Twitch. I'd appreciate it if you check me out. That's my main source of content. I did a bit of research and found that there aren't that many engineered guides for man versus machine. Probably because the man versus machine community is the smaller part of the Team Fortress 2 community, and only a small section of that mains engineer, and Uncle Dane hasn't. I have decided to bestow the responsibility upon myself and lead you all to victory. So, yeah, let's do that thing I just said. So the first thing you should worry about are your weapons. That's probably the most important thing besides upgrades. The primary you should use is the Rescue Ranger. That is very good for dealing with sentry busters. The healing isn't that important because your wrench, once you get swing speed, is far surpasses the Rescue Ranger. So the only reason I would use the Rescue Ranger is yoinking your sentries from sentry busters. And it doesn't do that. Your wrench does more damage than the Rescue Ranger, and again, especially if you get swing speed, which you should. So yeah, that's the primary. The secondary, you should use the Wrangler. You might think that, oh, I can use the short circuit and just delete the rocket spam that's coming to it. Well, considering the Wrangler gives you such high resistance and your sentry gets such high health because of upgrades, all that stuff that your rescue range, all the stuff that your short circuit is deleting, you could have just tanked. And the Wrangler gives you much higher DPS, especially against big bots and tanks. And the wrench you should be using is just stock. Stock wrench is always good. So there's always an argument for the Southern Hospitality to deal with the robo spies and just have higher DPS in general. But what I find is that most of the time when you're using your wrench, you're either using it to combat robo spies because the Rescue Ranger doesn't do the job for fighting them, and damaging tanks and repairing. Now it's good for fighting robo spies, but the bleeding doesn't really do anything, considering when you're fighting a robo spy, they will not go invisible. So the bleeding isn't that important, and why bleed them out to death when you can just crit them with your high swing speed? So just use stock is what I recommend. When you spawn in, you're faced with the upgrades little food court thing, and it might be a little daunting because there's so many options, so many tabs. Well, here I am to guide you through that. The most important upgrade, and the one you should get first, is dispenser range. You should and always will have a heavy on your team, and that dude needs ammo. Dispenser range is the most important upgrade of all of them. In all tours, you'll have a little bit of money left, at least $100 left. That's not enough to get you anything. So what I recommend is always, always, always use your leftover money on upgrade canteens. Those things are so good. You might want to get the refill ammo and metal canteen, but it's not really worth it because you have to spend time upgrading your dispenser and sentry. Well, why would you do that when you press H? You can just upgrade it immediately. It is so useful, so definitely get that. After dispenser range, I always get at least one of each building health and sentry shooting speed. Those upgrades what really makes the engineer good. Not just because you can give infinite ammo to your people doing much damage, but the sentry gets an extra 30% firing speed if you max that out, and triples its health of the original health of your sentry. So I always max those two out after dispenser range, and always spending money on not crit canteens, building canteens. I always make sure I'm maxed on those because your buildings will get destroyed a lot. That's a fact. After you upgrade those, the other upgrades aren't as important. You always want to get metal stock. You always want to max that out because you can place down your sentry, but then you don't have any metal to put down your dispenser if they both get destroyed. So at least get one of those, so you can put down both of the buildings and then press H, and both of them will upgrade immediately. After that, just go for resistances. Now, people say that the mini sentry is completely useless. I do disagree on one round. It's in 2 cities on the last wave of when it's just 3 tanks. That round is all about damage. So what I do is I put my sentry that in the normal spot to protect against all the minions that come out, and get your mini sentry to help, because that is extra damage. It won't help that much, but it is a help, and it has helped in before when your tanks are on the last point because nobody's playing pyro, and you have like 3 heavies. It is so useful to have your little mini sentry helping, because it's not much damage, but it is a little bit. But don't buy it unless you're in that circumstance. You want to get your resistances. You want to get crit resistances, then blast, and then bullet. Fire is never really. I never, as you're an engineer, you should never really be caught on fire, because you should be behind your team and right beside a dispenser. So you shouldn't really need fire resistance, but it's there, I guess. Health regeneration can be useful. Metal regeneration can be useful, but really you shouldn't really buy those over other stuff. After you get all the important upgrades, just save money for building canteens, because there's been times where I've needed 6 in one round because the team isn't doing very well, and an engineer's buildings do go down, and that's very important. Playstyle of the engineer is very important, especially to the team. If your team does not have an engineer, you basically won't win. I've had a few instances where I'm playing heavy or something because somebody already took engineer, and they put the dispenser right beside their sentry so they can keep the sentry up. Your sentry is important. It's very important. It's like basically another heavy on your team with perfect aim. But the dispenser, I would argue, is way more important than your sentry. It's keeping your whole team alive, because the medic, if you have a medic, can only heal one person at a time. Your dispenser, with its dispenser range, can heal your whole team at the same time, and they never run out of ammo. So it pains me to see, like, you're on 2 cities and on the rail, people put the dispenser up there for them. No, it needs to be right beside your heavy. The heavy is the most important person other than the engineer on your team. You need a heavy, and if you don't have a heavy, you're not going to succeed. Your sentry placement should be behind your team. It should never be in front of it, or at least beside them, like near your dispenser. You want to be near your dispenser, but you want to put your whole playstyle around your dispenser, not where you place your sentry. Where you place your dispenser, you should have your sentry nearby so you can get metal to keep it alive and your other buildings alive. The teleporter exit should not be anywhere near your other buildings. It should be far back, but not far enough to be useless. On the metal crates on 2 cities is very good. It gets near all 3 of the doors, and it's very hard for the robots to destroy it. You should have it behind cover and not near the action, just where people can, like, just protect it, so right when they spawn in, they're not dead immediately. That's where you should have your bullets. Now, the play style, you should stay around your sentry. I never endorse turtling in MVM. I mean, never endorse turtling in normal games. I almost never use the Rescue Ranger. I'm always going gung-ho with the panic attack. But in MVM, you want to turtle. Not extremely, not stand behind your sentry the whole time and just whack it. But you need to be near your sentry, because that thing is very important. If your team goes down, your sentry can hold the lines until they come back. It's very important. So you want to minorly turtle. Turtle not that much, but still be around your sentry. And make sure your dispenser is up. If your sentry goes down, you can build another one, but if your dispenser goes down, the whole team falls apart. Keep that dispenser alive. We're at the end of the guide, so here are some general tips against certain robots, or just things you should be doing that are situational. Sentry busters are directly to hinder the engineer, but I never find myself dying to them, except that one time. um, The rescue ranger is there to combat the sentry buster, to yoink your sentry away from it, but it's not just for that. What I tend to do is just pick up my sentry and walk over to it, let it explode, and just put my sentry back, because that's 100 metal that you could save, and like, it's just 100 metal wasted when you could just walk a few steps, have it explode, and put it back. A few seconds of downtime is not going to kill you. The spies. The spies are also there mainly to go against the engineer. Don't pull out your rescue ranger. Your rescue ranger does like no damage. Your wrench does way more damage, and they aren't that smart. Normally, I wouldn't recommend going against a spy with a wrench, but you know those things are kind of dumb. So you can just whack at it 2 times and it's dead. If you get a crit, hit it once, it's dead. If there's multiple, then get help, because you can't take on multiple. You with your little wrench ain't gonna do nothing. Um, with the big robots that have a big medic behind it, or just a medic in general, what you do is you take your Wrangler and shoot at the medics. Don't shoot at the big boy, because then they'll Uber and your whole team will like really hate you. You gotta take out. This is why the Wrangler is important, so you can control where your sentry shoots at certain times. You don't just want to be shooting what's closest. You want to shoot what has the most risk, and those medics are what is preventing you from killing the biggest risk. A tip that would help me is when the lady comes up and says there's spies around, stand on top of your sentry, not in front of it, not like on the front end of it, because the rockets will get you and you'll go flying, but just on top of it so the spies can't backstab you. That's how I combat them most of the time, is I sit on top of my sentry and just whack at them if there's multiple. I scream for my heavy to help me, but I'm still trying to help. Sentry jumping. Please learn to sentry jump. You can go on a rocket jump map and just practice. Sentry jumping is so helpful. Since you should be getting blast resistance, it doesn't do that much damage to you anymore, and it like allows you to, you put your sentry down, like your whole team's at the front and you're starting to lose ground, and you spawn in, you put down your sentry, use your instant build canteen, launch yourself to the where you need to go, and use your rescue ranger to grab your sentry and book it. It saves so much time, and it saves your team. It is so, you don't have to learn advanced sentry jumping, like how to double do it. You just have to at least know how to do it. You will save so much time and so many games. End of the guide. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, chuck a like on the video. I work very hard on these videos. I'm not an expert editor. I'm just a kid with a hobby. Go check out my Twitch. I stream there every day, and that's my main source of content for you guys. Having a great time. We're trying to reach 50 followers, and we're getting pretty close, so I'd really appreciate that. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching, and good luck with your drops.